One of the simplest things in audio is gain, and where in the digital domain you basically have an infinite amount of gain, gain comes way more precise in the analog domain. And the more I learned to listen to gain related artifacts, the preciser I became with gaining my analog gear. I mean, sometimes it's really a matter of like half a dB. Makes such a difference. And the benefit of correctly gaining analog equipment became even more clear when I was working on my review of the Kultrum 436C, because this thing is really picky about the level that you put in there. And there are some cool and some annoying things about that, and that is what I want to talk about today. So let's get started. I think most people create their audio signal from their DAWs, and they use converters or interfaces to interface with the analog domain. And my interfaces are from RME, and they are giving me a few settings that you do not get from every manufacturer. One of these settings is the reference level. And what the reference level basically means is how much level the converter is outputting or expecting on the input when your DAW is at 0 dB. dB scales are pretty interesting, and there are a lot of them with a lot of conversion tables and stuff. Now, usually the reference level of a converter is fixed. You can find that in the manual. Sometimes you can set it with a jumper in the converter, and sometimes you can set it via software. Now, as you can imagine, increasing the output reference level will increase the level that is in your chain, and increasing the input reference level will make the converter less sensitive because it has to deal with higher levels. And if the input and output reference level would be the same and you wouldn't connect any equipment in between, but you would just put a cable between the output and the input, you are getting the same level in your DAW as you are outputting. Unity. Now, you do not necessarily have to play with these reference levels. Usually you're pretty fine with the levels set by the manufacturer of your converter. Also because you have some control with the faders and other level adjustments in your DAW. And I think it's good to realize that the reference level of a converter only sets the maximum level that it can output or receive. And setting this level at the highest setting kind of makes sense, but sometimes from a workflow perspective, it's better to set it at a bit lower setting. And my basic advice is just set it at a level where you and your equipment feels the most comfortable working at. Now, this subject can get pretty boring and pretty complicated quickly, but I want to go somewhere with this because it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. So recently I received this beautiful compressor, and I actually wanted to make a review out of this. However, equipment reviews get less than half the views that other videos on my channel get. And half the views is not really a problem until you realize that the YouTube algorithm works in mysterious ways and also basically puts a brake on your channel, which will cost like 3 or 4 videos to get the momentum back. It's annoying. And usually the result of a hardware review does not deliver enough return to invest any time into. I'm a huge analog freak, but if it's going to hurt my YouTube channel too much, if not enough people are watching a video, then I'm not going to make it. Anyway, let's listen to some practical demos. Let's first listen to the Kultrum in bypass. Because bypass isn't always bypass. Some equipment have true bypass, but in the case of the Kultrum, it's not a true bypass. The transformers are still active. Now, throughout this test, I'm not touching the faders in my DAW. I'm switching reference levels. I could as well use the faders in my DAW, but switching reference levels is really an absolute setting that I can quickly alter. So let's first listen at the lowest level, the plus 13 dBu reference level. Again, in bypass. And let's now switch the reference level up to plus 24 dBu. You won't hear a gain difference because, again, the level will be higher in the analog domain, but in the digital domain, the domain that we are using on YouTube as well, the levels will stay the same. It's a bit confusing, I know. So the cooled room wants to work with a lower level, and that's not a problem, right? Let's activate the compressor and just listen to how it sounds at a plus 13 dBu reference level. I really like this compression. However, this is how it sounds when using it at a plus 24 dBu reference level with a bit of compensation so that it compresses the same amount. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue. Now the in and output gain settings have a pretty wide range of control. So let's compensate in such a way that the internal levels of the compressor are the same as with the plus 13 dBu reference level test. So basically making the internal levels lower. So that doesn't work. Why? Well, it's because the input gain control is placed after the input transformer. And the distortion that we were hearing during this test was coming from this input transformer. The rest of the unit is amazing, but the input transformer just is a bit picky at the level it wants to receive. And again, if the YouTube algorithm wouldn't work in the way it's working right now, I would love to share more about it. So the level we're sending to the cooled room has to be lower. And we can deal with that. Or well, kinda. Because what if we want to put the SSL B-DIN in front of the cooled room? The B-DIN modules like to operate at a pretty high level. I mean, they cannot work at a plus 13 dBu level. They just don't compress at, you know, the lowest threshold. Listen. They're not doing anything. And this is the B-DIN at plus 24 dBu. And honestly, the B-DINs do not even work that well at the highest level that my RMEs can output. I actually like to insert them somewhere in my console, which can handle even higher levels and is capable of boosting the levels from the RME a bit more. And also there's no proper gain control on a unit like the B-DIN. And actually on most units there's no proper gain control. I mean, the GainLab Audio, for instance, has gain control, but you can only boost with that unit. So I have to put some kind of an attenuator in between the path if I want to use the cooled room unit after the SSL B-DIN units. And this whole weirdness thing is the reason why a lot of engineers are very careful with staging their analog chain and choosing which unit lands where in their chain. And also why ordering a chain in a different way sometimes doesn't work. There's more to it than just level. For instance, there's also something like impedances, but I think that's something for a different video on a different channel. Probably presented by somebody more knowledgeable than me. Anyway, that's all that I wanted to share today, and I hope this makes a bit of sense, and I hope that Somebody somewhere has learned something about analog equipment. And honestly, this might sound a bit daunting and a bit complicated if you want to start with analog gear. But on the other hand, while working with it, you will learn more and more about it. And I'm still learning more about my gear every single day. And I'm discovering new ways to chain my equipment. So there's also a very cool and playful part about this whole thing. Now, the creation of this video was sparked by the Kultrum unit that I was sent graciously by Falkenstein Audio. And to be clear, they haven't sent this to me as a free product. They just wanted me to check this out and see what I think. And again, I really like this as long as it's gained properly, which is, you know, a pretty basic thing. But I couldn't find a way to create an interesting review about this, because units like this, they don't really attract a wide audience. There's nothing I can do about that. It's just something we have to deal with. I keep repeating myself. Anyway, I'm going to ship this thing back to them because it's just a loaner unit, and they were very cool about me wanting to create a bit of different content where I would just feature the unit instead of creating a full review out of it. Anyway, they haven't paid me. They haven't put any rules in place of, you know, what I should talk about, because if they would have done that, I wouldn't be making this video. I would have been making a completely different video. And the way my channel generates revenue is by the community. So if you want to support me, consider using my affiliate links. Thomann, Sweetwater and Plugin Boutique. And by using my affiliate link, they're also in the description down below, a little bit of your purchase gets kicked back to me. You're not paying anything extra. It's just a free way of supporting the channel. So make sure to shop using my links. In the description there will also be a link to Kultrum, a link to Falkenstein Audio, and I will also link to the SSL BDIN modules if you are thinking of getting them. I will disclose if it's an affiliate link or not in brackets. Now, another way to support me is by becoming a channel member. And channel members pay a small monthly fee to help the channel. And in return, they get early access to videos and access to some exclusive content. I'll link the playlist of the exclusive content over here. And if you don't want to become a member but want to support me in a different way, make sure to watch more videos and to subscribe, of course. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep pushing. And bye-bye.